Speaker, my name is Kayode Oladele, and I represent Yewa North and Imekwa from Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Ogun State, and I rise to move that a bill for an act to repeal the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 and enact the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Bill to provide for measures for the prohibition, prevention, and combating of terrorist activities in Nigeria and for related matters, HB 1296, be read the second time. I so move.
Kayode, please lead the debate.
I seek your valued support to allow this bill to be read a second time. The bill seeks to repeal the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2011 as amended and enact the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Act 2018 to provide for measures for the detection, prevention, enforcement, combating, and prohibition of acts of terrorism for the effective implementation of international instruments on the prevention and combating of terrorism and suppression of the financing of terrorism. In addition, the bill seeks to establish institutional frameworks, including the Nigerian Sanctions Committee for the implementation, coordination, and enforcement of its provisions. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have the brief in your hands. While I seek to adapt everything in the bill in the brief, I would like to respectfully state the objectives of the bill. The purpose of the bill, Mr. Speaker, which is a justice sector bill, and which has been drawn and has been on the drawing table since 2013, is, among other things, one, to harmonize the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 and the Terrorism Prevention Amendment Act 2013, and to correct the numbering challenges in the existing legal frameworks. Repeal the Terrorism Prevention Act of 2011 as amended. Provide for enhanced measures for the detection, prevention, combating, and prohibition of acts of terrorism, and ensure the effective implementation of the international instruments on the prevention and combating of terrorism and suppression of the financing of terrorism generally, and establish institutional frameworks, including the Nigerian Sanctions Committee for the implementation, coordination, and enforcement of its provisions. Mr. Speaker, I adopt the background which we all have, but I will also, respectfully, Mr. Speaker, state some fundamental changes which are incorporated into the bill. Following the receipt of the comments on the bill from the UNODC and Terrorism Prevention Branch and Counter-Terrorism Committee Executive Directorates, in 2015, the Ministry of Justice, in collaboration with the PC, the Presidential Committee on Financial Action Task Force, in February 2015, constituted a technical working team of draft persons to consider the comments of UNODC and on the bill and incorporate its recommendations where necessary. Mr. Speaker, some of the changes are following. In the bill, the definition of what constitutes act of terrorism now includes any act which is deliberately done with malice aforethought and which involves or causes the manufacture, possession, acquisition, transportation, transfer, supply, or use of weapons, including explosives or biological, chemical, radiological, or nuclear weapons, as well as research into and development of weapons without lawful authority, and the receipt, possession, use, transfer, alteration, disposal, or dispersal of nuclear or other radioactive materials or devices. 2, any act which is deliberately done with malice aforethought and which involves causes the releasing into the environment or any part thereof, or distributing or exposing the public or any part to dangerous, hazardous, nuclear, or other radioactive or harmful substance, or any toxic chemical, any microbial or other biological agent or toxin, the effect of which is to endanger human life or to provoke substantial damage to property or to the environment. Mr. Speaker, it also includes any act which is deliberately done with malice aforethought and which involves or causes an act directed against a nuclear facility or act interfering with the operation of a nuclear facility where the offender intentionally causes or where he knows that the act is likely to cause death or serious injuries to persons. Mr. Speaker, unlike before, we now have the offense of hostage taking, kidnapping, and hijacking as part of the offenses included in the acts of terrorism in the Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Bill. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, as I said, I have this already distributed to members. All I want to request is your support to ensure that this bill, which has been in the offing, in the drawing table for the past 5 years, is allowed to go for second reading. I so submit.
The question is that the bill be now read a second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Now I invite the clerk to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to repeal the Terrorism Prevention Act 2011 and enact Terrorism Prevention and Prohibition Bill to provide measures for the prohibition, prevention, and combating of terrorist activities in Nigeria and for related matters. Second reading.
The bill is referred to Committee on National Security and Intelligence.